Welcome to Drum Corps Concept Design 101. In this episode, authenticity. So far in the series, we've discussed the need for depth, the same as film, television, theater, opera, and music videos. We've discussed the step-by-step process of concept design, the responsibility of interpretation, and cohesion, which ties all the elements of your show together. Now let's discuss authenticity.
Authenticity is a quality, in a production, where a designer convinces the audience that what the performers are portraying is organic to who they are. That they've earned their right to portray this subject. And that there's a human truth inside the player's sincere interpretation.
Directors, producers, screenwriters, and playwrights agree on the tenets of authenticity.
A show premise should be the following. 1. Organic to the performers. 2. Well-researched. 3. Customized with a specific point of view. 4. Streamlined to avoid an overbroad premise. And 5. Focused on emotionally moving the audience.
Let's view some authentic drum corps successes and analyze what components made them so organic and so convincing. What are the tools that a show coordinator or director can use to develop an honest, convincing, heartfelt production that moves audiences?
1. Select organic material.
Try picking themed material that reflects the organization's identity as a key to an honest, heartfelt portrayal. For example, Santa Clara Vanguard's brilliant show Babylon depicted the horrors of the U.S. border crisis, with the colors of the Mexican flag, immigrants in cages, immigrants crawling under fences, barcodes on children's wristbands, and immigrants' bandanas. All symbols of the controversial immigration issue. Santa Clara's home state of California is at the epicenter of the crisis, and clearly the show's artistic message supported the plight of families torn apart by fascist treatment at the border. Santa Clara authentically owned the subject matter, even though it was subtle and missed by many audience members. Another authentic show, the Boston Crusaders' 2013 production of Rise, depicting the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing, was a striking, sincere, and heartfelt production exploring the complex emotions after a terrorist attack. Bluecoats to Look for America was a convincing commentary on the transformation of drum corps since the 1950s. The Bluecoats illustrated that drum corps evolved from a patriotic military-style production to a sophisticated artistic genre with complex themes. The Bluecoats are from Canton, Ohio, an all-American city, which was a perfect fit for a show about the end of shallow military jingoism in small-town America, and the subsequent awakening of a new art form, and a new way of perceiving American patriotism. The subject matter was honest and purely authentic.
2. Living the message of your show.
Behind the scenes of Cavaliers' 2004 show 007, the Corps received a visit by a 007 actor who coached the players on the nature of intelligence operations. The rumor of the celebrity actor's visit increased the audience's belief in the authenticity of the show. Because of the 007 actor's coaching, the players automatically appeared more convincing in their roles. Living the message of your show off the field focuses the intention of the production and helps clarify your artistic mission.
3. Casting considerations.
Program Rockstar. Drum Corps International is proud to present
Carolina Crown's production of Rockstar featured a Rockstar color guard member with rockstar confidence and a stage presence bright enough to knock planes out of the sky. The casting perfectly legitimized the visual depiction of a celebrity rock star's personality of risk-taking and unbridled personal expression. Carolina Crown's Rockstar was a quintessentially authentic portrayal.
4. Adapting your choreography.
Customized choreography, based on character and situation, helps make your portrayal specific and authentic. For example, the Cavaliers' 2014 innovative production of Immortal featured a completely new dictionary of movement stemming from vampires and their interactions. The portrayals were wildly original, entertaining, and engaging. When choreographers go beyond the standard dictionary of typical contemporary dance moves and create a new style of movement based on the character, suddenly the character portrayals become specific, unique, and convincing.
5. Justify an unlikely premise with repetition and continuity.
Boston Crusaders' 2018 innovative production of Goliath had a unique mix of sci-fi gladiator costumes and a winsome comic book hero in David, doing rifle tricks and flashing his pearly whites. The stylized anachronistic hybrid was successful, because the designers continually reintroduced David with tricks and choreography that portrayed him as a likable underdog, and gave him primary focus. Continuity helps legitimize difficult story points, helps give it backbone, and helps the audience believe in its legitimacy, simply through repetition. Now let's discuss some shows that rang false, appeared contrived, and were inauthentic. We've all seen films and television shows where the subject matter appeared inauthentic. In Planet of the Apes, the mouths didn't move on the actors' masks. The 1953 film, Robot Monster, featured a villain in a gorilla suit and a diving mask. John Wayne played Chinese Emperor Genghis Khan in the 1956 film The Conqueror. Painfully inauthentic. The same problems apply to drum corps shows. Let's review some pitfalls to avoid.
Avoid a show design with a hidden agenda.
Some show designs are inauthentic because it's insincere. The designers have a hidden agenda or secret message or inside joke that is shallow and immature. For example, the Colts show, When Hell Freezes Over, was rumored to be based on an inside joke. The staff joked that Colts will, quote, make finals when hell freezes over, unquote. That broke the fourth wall, meaning it's a commentary on the activity itself, not a legitimate artistic message. It lacked any sincere, original artistic observation about hell as depicted in literature, religion, or any other field of study. As a result, it lacked depth and authenticity. Another example of a hidden agenda is the Star of Indiana's production of Medea. Medea was a show with continuous unexplained anger and dissonance. The audience sat in confused silence watching the show. And no one on staff would take ownership of why they chose the angry material. Star then, at the end of the season, revealed they had planned all along to leave DCI, and it became clear. Star of Indiana was hiding its secret intention to leave the activity, and only the insiders knew it. That makes the show's intent juvenile, passive-aggressive, with an immature, inauthentic message about a grievance with the activity itself, avoiding any depth of the original Greek drama, Medea. That's unprofessional and inauthentic.
Avoid a subject that is too broad.
When the theme or subject is too broad for a 12-minute show, it becomes unwieldy and unfocused.
The show is called This New World, and it's the idea that you've been dropped into a place you've never been before, and how do you respond to these new places, how do these new places respond to you?
And loses credibility. When your show subject is too general, it's best to narrow the subject of the show for greater impact. For example, Santa Clara Vanguard's show, Vox Averso, tried to cover revolution of any kind, including references to the Beat Generation, hippie movement, underground punk and thrash metal music featuring Nothing Else Matters. The show excluded any reference to a guitar, which was the primary instrument of modern revolution. Late in the season, a guitar riff recording was added as a Pro Tools layer. That's inauthentic. The subject of musical defiance was too broad and impossible to capture visually, and tetherballing a euphonium and swinging it around a ladder didn't help its focus. The show's message was confusing, and lacked a commentary on anti-establishment trends in music and their greater impact on society or the individual. Another example of an overbroad premise, in Carolina Crown's Beast, there were multiple images of beasts to the point of confusion. Who is the beast? Why are there so many? When the final tarps are unfurled, the audience doesn't recognize the illustrated beast, and the premise becomes confusing and hollow. An example of where narrowing the focus worked, the Cavaliers' 2006 show, Machine, limited the narrative focus. They presented a few robot vignettes and an ominous ending about robots replacing man. That's all they needed. The narrow focus of the story elements added authenticity to the science fiction premise. Another example of where narrowing the focus worked to add credibility, Crown's E = MC² was a smattering of space imagery, but the last minute of the show, came down to two lovers sitting on a park bench, a profound commentary on the statistical unlikelihood of life and love on Earth. That scene added a specific focus and helped add authenticity of message.
Avoid false character portrayals.
Sometimes in drum corps, character portrayals are false, creating inauthenticity. Cavaliers wrestlers in Game On portrayed Olympic wrestlers doing pirouettes and other ballet and jazz dance moves, clearly out of character for top-level athletes in brutal contact sports. That choreography didn't match the character, and it was inauthentic. Another example of false character portrayals, the Spirit of Atlanta portrayed club-goers wearing knee-length flouncy coats that looked like white cotillion dresses. That's a stretch, even for Atlanta's most cutting-edge clubs. Those costumes didn't capture the individual style of Atlanta clubgoers. The gender-bending nature of pleated dress coats was confusing and inauthentic, because every single marching member was wearing the same dress. Real gender nonconformist clubgoers wouldn't be caught dead wearing the same dress. The costumes were inauthentic for the subject. A final example of mischaracterization, the Phantom Regiment portrayed Joan of Arc as a feminine blonde girl running from boys. But in real life, Joan of Arc dressed as a man, cut her own hair off, and led warriors to battle. Based on the phrase, "I am Spartacus," the Corps shouted, "I am Joan," which was historically inaccurate. In real life, Joan of Arc's bizarre behavior, talking to spirits, wiring her pants on, and Christian evangelism make the Spartacus parallel a hard sell. The message of embracing women as heroes had a good intention, but choosing Joan of Arc as a role model for women is like choosing Jack Kevorkian as a role model for Medicare. That's inauthentic.
Avoid a subject that is too complex or dour.
An example of a show with an overly depressing premise, the Madison Scouts show Judas, used music from the musical comedy drama, Jesus Christ Superstar, focusing only on the depressing parts. It featured only the betrayal, crucifixion, and suicide. When do we stand up and cheer? The racist stereotype of casting Judas as a black villain was finally broken in productions of Superstar after 1980, but not this one. The actor was not given an opportunity to develop other sides to the character, mostly because the music license prohibited the addition of any other music outside the score, and because the show didn't have enough music to support a 12-minute production around the supporting character of Judas. The subject was too grim for young performers in the prime of their lives. The selection of a world-renowned villain was too maudlin for a stand-up and cheer medium. The final number, the upbeat Jesus Christ Superstar anthem, seemed out of place, and the result was a show that appeared overly angst-ridden and ultimately inauthentic, despite the impassioned and talented performers. Another show with a depressing premise, Blue Nights, portrayed the end of the world in reverse by playing the Moonlight Sonata. The overcomplex show was hard to follow, with depictions of mass casualties, the Earth exploding and of course looking at themselves in the mirror before the apocalypse. The production was strangely glum and ultimately inauthentic.
Avoid a subject that is too shallow.
The Blue Stars portrayed professional carpenters to illustrate the music of Karen Carpenter. Get it? Carpenters. That makes no sense. Even if you're avoiding a direct portrayal of Karen because of licensing concerns, certainly there's plenty of depth available to portray in the Carpenter's family, from Karen dying young, to the dark lyrics in the song Superstar, where a naive fangirl falls for a deceptive band member. To create a show with the shallow play on the word carpenters, with hammers and sawzalls, is incongruent to the soul of the music, and the production lacked depth as a result. That's inauthentic. The Cadets 2010 show featured an adult dressed as an impertinent child named Jeffrey, which was an inauthentic and cheesy story choice. In professional circles, everybody knows that adults shouldn't play naive children. It's cutesy, creepy, and awkward.
Avoid a rushing, frantic pace.
Some show coordinators feel pressured to create a lightning-fast pace. The show ends up being frantic, scattered, and nonsensical. Cadets 2014 show, Promise, was based on the Lincoln Portrait, an intimate standstill orchestral production with a single poised speaker reading the words of Lincoln. But the cadets tried to add lightning-fast pacing, evangelical shouting, and an avalanche of patriotic visuals. The narrator continually ran behind the apron to hide, and then reappeared moments later in a nonsensical, frantic back-and-forth scramble. Cadets' glittery show was full of pomp and bombast, opposite the original production. That's inauthentic.
Avoid exaggerating for a large stadium.
The Boston Crusaders' 2016 production of The Man of La Mancha forced an over-the-top portrayal of generalized mental illness, a far cry from the original musical's intent. That's inauthentic. Now to wrap up this episode on authenticity.
Simplicity and truth are often the best option.
The simplicity of Phantom Regiment's
Drum
Juliet.
major, Dean Patterson.
The purity of Cadets' Appalachian Spring and simple gifts.
The organic and genuine Latin jazz guitar soloist in Madison's 2021 production Between the Lines.
And the Cavaliers' 1992 show, Revolution and Triumph, with a fierce sense of national pride and victory over oppressors, rings true today.
Authenticity strengthens a show's believability, and its lasting truth for the ages.
That wraps up this episode on authenticity. Next episode, universality. And remember, marching members, never perform in a show that you don't fully understand.
What they see.
Hold your designers and choreographers accountable. See you next time.